midnight haze, chasing shadows in the darkest maze. Footsteps echo in the empty hall, mysteries waiting on our call. Bigfoot stomping through the pines, aliens sending secret signs, EVPs in the dead of night, ghosts dancing in the pale moonlight. Paranormal 411, we bring it to ya. Truth behind the veil, gotta pursue ya.
Man, I'll never get over that. That song is awesome. Hey, tonight it's just going to be me. Like I put in the chat room there, Jason is going to be off tonight and he should be back with us on Saturday. So tonight we're going to be talking about time slips. Time slips. Hope everybody is ready to talk about some time slips. You know, it's funny because in the paranormal world, I think that this also happens. And I think it has been documented in the paranormal world on many occasions. Thank you for that. He is feeling better. He's just going to take the night off just to try to make sure he's feeling better for Saturday's show. So everybody, thanks for your prayers and thoughts and everything. And so he's got to go to the heart doctor on Friday. So we'll find out. He said, talking to him today and went to eat lunch with him today, and he said that he is feeling a lot better. So that's good. Hey, Michelle, how are you? Oh, you have some stories in our area about time slips now. This is interesting. That's pretty cool. So we are going to be talking about time slips. So buckle up and get ready. Uh-oh. People are texting me now. Oh, that's fine. That's crazy. My wife texted me and said that right now I look like one of those old Chinese movies. Like, you want to fight? Fight me. I'm sorry. I don't know what's causing it. We will have to try to figure that out at some point. I would think it would have something to do with the latency or lag somewhere. Got two from the same guy. It's funny, huh? I was noticing it the other day. Oh, Benjamin says it's right. That she's right. I'm sorry, everybody. Well, hopefully you could hear me. What's up, Jason? There's Jason. He's in the chat room. Everybody say hi to Jason. Yeah, we'll have to figure out what's going on with the lag or something in this thing for me to look like I'm, in an old movie. So you walk down a familiar street, and suddenly all the cars are gone. The clothes that people are wearing just don't seem right. Then you realize it looks like it's the 50s. Now, this is the time slip phenomenon. We're going to delve into some real world claims of temporal displacement. We're going to chronicle some famous, meticulously documented cases like the Vanishing Hotel of France and the legendary Ghosts of Versailles, where witnesses find themselves accidentally plunged into the past. Now, these are shared delusions or maybe intense psychological events. Maybe they're genuine moments where the space-time continuum frayed just enough for a glimpse of the history. Now, we balance these chilling eyewitness accounts with the theoretical science of wormholes, the cosmic absurdity of the Bootstrap Paradox. Now, if you've ever felt like time was not a straight line, but a fabric, well, the past is waiting. Hey, Jason Finch. It's not real bad. Well, that's good. It's not real bad, but it's bad. So, forward time travel is not a fantasy. It is a fundamental proven consequence of Einstein's theories of relativity. Now, according to special theory of relativity, time is not an absolute, universal constant, but it is instead a relative to the observer's speed, right? So they've measured this by setting an atomic clock on the Earth, then having one on a jet, and then when it gets somewhere, they're usually milliseconds off from each other. And so they do know that this works. Now, this effect, known as time dilation, means that the faster an object moves, the slower time actually passes for that object relative to slower moving observers. So while the effect is negligible at everyday speeds, it becomes increasingly pronounced as one approaches the ultimate speed of the cosmos, the speed of light. So if a person was on board a spaceship and they were capable of sustaining 99.9% of the speed of light for a year, upon their return to Earth, they would find that many decades or even maybe centuries had passed, effectively making them travel into the future. Now, this concept is further reinforced by Einstein's general theory of relativity. And this demonstrates that gravity also warps and slows down time. So there's a phenomenon called gravitational time dilation. So clocks tick slightly slower near massive objects than they do far away. Now, this is not just theoretical. It is a measurable effect that engineers must account for when designing satellite navigation systems like GPSs. It's because these satellites are moving fast and are further away from the Earth's center of gravity and than what the ground receivers actually have. So their clocks experience time at a slightly different rate. So without constant corrections based on both velocity and gravitational effects, a GPS system would quickly become inaccurate, proving that the principles of forward time travel are woven into the fabric of our everyday lives. What is that Ghostbuster symbol with the white ghost and the red circle? Now, while we yet do not possess the technology for extreme velocity travel to jump centuries into the future, the principle is universally accepted within the scientific community that traveling into the future is a matter of practical engineering, not scientific impossibility. So every second, we are all traveling into the future at a rate of 1 second per second. But extreme velocity or massive gravity offers a shortcut. So therefore, any true time machine would most likely be a super efficient spacecraft capable of accelerating close to the speed of light, and it ensures that its occupant outpaces the passage of time for everyone else in the universe. Oh, you're gonna, what did she say? Would Einstein, I think, what is it? Theory is related to the same theory of a black hole. That would be a lot of where we're talking about the gravity. Yeah, because that's what would happen in the black hole. Time dilation due to the gravity of the black hole. Yeah. So, oh, so I'm used to having Jason here, so I can actually, we made up time. So I could read all these and talk to you guys at the same time. So backwards time travel poses a immense theoretical challenge. Now, this relies on exotic physics and extreme cosmic structures that may or may not exist. Now, this possibility is only suggested by certain complex solutions to Einstein's general theory of relativity, and it describes a radically warped space-time. Now, key among these are concepts like wormholes or Einstein-Rosen bridges, which are hypothesized tunnels through space-time that could theoretically connect two distant points in space, or if manipulated, two different points in time. Now, the creation and stabilization of a traversable wormhole, however, would require immense amounts of mass or negative or energy density, which has never been observed in bulk and may violate fundamental energy conditions. So there's another theoretical pathway that involves the creation of closed time link or curves, which are called CTCs. Now, these are space-time paths that loop back on themselves, allowing an object following them to return to an earlier point in its own history. Now, physicist Kurt Gödel demonstrated a mathematical solution to general relativity that described a universe where CTCs were possible. Though his model required a universe filled with rotating matter, which doesn't match our own expanding cosmos. But despite this, the mathematical possibility keeps the door open, adjusting that if the laws of possibility and physics are manipulated under extreme conditions, such as a round, rapidly spinning black holes, right? So like what you was talking about a second ago, black holes, or cosmic strings, a mechanism for reversing the flow of time might theoretically emerge. So the very concept of a time machine in the backward sense forces physicists to confront the deepest laws of nature and the ultimate source of the one-way nature of time. Now, the renowned physicist Stephen Hawking proposed the chronologically protection conjecture, which posits that the law of physics are designed to prevent time travel to the past, thereby protecting casually and preventing paradoxes from ever arising. So this conjecture suggests that the attempt to create a time machine would be thwarted by an unavoidable feedback of vacuum energy or other quantum phenomena, causing the device to fail just before it achieves its goal. Pretty interesting, right? So there's more popular and less restrictive resolutions in this, and it's the many worlds interpretation, which we've talked about on this show before, or the concept of the multiverse. Now, this theory holds that every time and potentially paradoxical event occurs, the timeline splits. So if you go back and shoot your grandfather, you have merely killed a version of him in a new branch. Right. Because, a lot of people will talk about the grandfather paradox. If you go back in time and you kill your grandfather by accident or something like that, or your great grandfather, then it's going to kill you. But they're actually starting to walk that back, because they're saying that if you do go back in time, more than likely it's not on your timeline. It's a completely separate timeline. So let's talk about time slips now. So these are distinct from the scientific pursuit of time travel. A time slip is a term that's used to describe the alleged spontaneous and involuntary personal experience of briefly perceiving or entering a past era. Now, what's neat about this is that there's tons of these stories. What do you say? Yeah, I think that in the paranormal, they can do these kinds of things. 1.21 gigawatts. I'll think that, like I said earlier, these have been documented in some instances of the paranormal, and I'll make an example. You're in there filming, doing whatever, and all of a sudden you see a spirit, and you're like, "Whoa, there's a spirit right there." Well, it sees you and does the same thing. Whoa, there's a spirit there, and it like runs. It's almost like you're the ghost to what we are perceiving as a ghost, but to them, you're the ghost. So is that a time slip? Are you slipping time just a little bit to where that thing is perceiving you as being in their time, but at the same time, you're perceiving them as being in your time? That's kind of where some of that, comes in at. And we'll talk about some experiences and some things here in a minute that people have had that are much crazier than that. And I've heard stories after stories after stories on time slips, which is, I don't know, it's a really interesting phenomena. That's what it is. It's a phenomenon. So now these episodes are characterized as glitches in reality. Now, where the present environment suddenly morphs into a scene from the past. Witnesses often describe seeing people in a period clothing, hearing old sounds, or observing buildings that no longer exist. Before the scene kind of snaps back to its present, to where you are at the time you're looking at it, which leaves the person that's seeing this as kind of disoriented. They're shaken a little bit. Now, these accounts have often localized to historically rich areas. They do not involve any machine or any intent. They are simply accidental snags in the continuum. Hello, baby girl. How you doing? Let's see. See, this even could connect to the silence people experience in nature. We may be able to jump in between realms and encounter these phenomena, and the phenomena encounter us, just like you said. Yes, absolutely. I think so. I think it's possible. How's that? I think anytime we decide that things aren't possible is we're hurting ourselves, especially if you're researching. One of the most widely reported examples is the Moberly Jordan incident. And this happened at the Palace of Versailles in 1901. So two English women, Charlotte Moberly and Eleanor Jordan, claimed to have suddenly encountered various figures in the 18th century attire and peculiar atmosphere of stillness while exploring the Petite Tranion grounds. Moberly even claimed to have seen a woman sketching, whom she later identified as Marie Antoinette. Now, their published account fueled decades of doubt, with proponents suggesting a genuine temporal displacement, but critics arguing that they had a shared delusion. How many times have we heard stuff like that? Misinterpretations of costume guests or the result of intense historically and suggestibility. I don't know. I think that some of those could be a possibility, but I think in 1901, these people would have known if someone was walking around in period clothing just acting. Some skeptical explanations for these occurrences tend to favor psychology and neuroscience over physics. Many scientists and psychologists, why can't I say psychologicalists, right? Psychologists suggest that time slips are likely intense forms of cognitive error or hallucinations. That's often brought on by factors like extreme fatigue, environmental stressors, or a brain malfunction. So, for instance, the feeling could be an intense form of deja vu, where a flawed in brain's processing causes the present moment to be inaccurately filed as an old memory. The brain then attempts to rationalize the memory by fabricating the surrounding historical details. I've had deja vu. Yes, thank you. He needs them. So Jason says swamp gas. So everybody, Paranormal 411 official, that's Jason in the chat room there. So in some urban legends, unusual environmental factors are cited as a possible cause. So for example, some have speculated that time slips reported in Liverpool's Bold Street might be linked to powerful electromagnetic fields generated by the underground rail network running directly beneath it. While there is research suggesting that localized electromagnetic fields can induce mild psychological effects, which include hallucinations, there are no direct causal link that has ever been established between these fields and the complex, vivid, and highly detailed historical scenarios described by time slip witnesses. Ultimately, time slips remain a fascinating point where human psychology intersects with the profound mystery of time. Now, yes, Jason is going to be back Saturday. And he's going to be doing a show. And I want to sit over there in that chair. And I'm just going to chat with all of y'all. And he's going to do the whole show by himself. We're going to get into some of these cases now. So we're going to start off with the Ghost of Versailles. So it's going to be it's going to be pretty much talking about what we was just talking about. So the Moberly Jordan incident is probably one of the most famous and extensively documented claims of a time slip in history. Now, this happened on August 10th, 1901. Two English academics, Charlotte Ann Moberly and Eleanor Jordan, were visiting the Palace of Versailles in France. They became lost while attempting to find the Petit Trianon, a small chateau on the grounds. So as they wandered into a quiet, heavily wooded area near Marie Antoinette's private estate, they both reported a sudden, overwhelming sense of gloom, oppression, and stillness, as if the natural sounds had been muffled by the very atmosphere, and it had changed very dramatically. The colors of the scene seemed to flatten, and the area on the quality of a tapestry or a photograph. Isn't that crazy? So as they proceeded, the environment and the people within it began to conform to a much earlier period. They encountered several figures in clothing from the late 18th century. They described seeing a woman and a young girl at a cottage door, which she felt resembled the tableau vivant, which was a living picture. But she saw the scene as vividly real. Now, Moberly, a principal at an Oxford college, had an even more chilling experience. She reported seeing a man with smallpox scars near a kiosk whose expression was really repulsive and who wore a cloak and a large, shadowy hat. Is that a hat man? So crucially, Moberly also claimed to see an elegant lady sketching on the lawn, whom she later, after researching portraits, became convinced was none other than the ill-fated Queen, Marie Antoinette. Cue the spooky music. Now, the true mystery emerged when the two women compared their notes and later tried to retrace their steps. Now, while they shared the feeling of profound unease at the presence of period figures, their individual memories of the specific people and events differed. Now, this suggests a highly subjective experience. Furthermore, upon revisiting the grounds on subsequent days, they could not locate the exact path, the odd kiosk, or the old bridge and cottage they had both walked past, finding only modern parkland. It appeared the historical landscape they had briefly experienced had vanished. Hello, Eddie. Now, their conviction led them to publish their account in 1911 under the pseudonyms Morrison and Lamont, titling the book An Adventure. The meticulous detail and the women's reputations as academics gave the story immediate notoriety. Now, skeptics have said numerous rational explanations, including they had a shared delusion, misinterpretation of a fancy dress party or a garden reenactment staged by the aristocrats, or it was a result of simple confusion and suggestion during a hot, tiring day. Now, however, the precise correspondence of some minor architectural details they reported with historical records are not available to the public at the time, which has continued to fuel the belief that they stumbled into an echo or a brief physical remanifestation of Versailles as it was just before the French Revolution. Before the French Revolution. I can't speak tonight. My mouth's dry. I need some water. I didn't bring none. So, there's a story like this from Australia where went through this but came out a later date. This makes you wonder, these people have disappeared, have encountered this but can't come back. I think that you're right about that, Stephen, for sure. Because I think that, we was at Eddie's for something. I think it was Matt Sieber a long time ago had his group there that was talking Bigfoot and stuff. But a guy was over there talking to us, and I actually got Matt Sieber to come over there to listen to the guy's story, because he told a story about that. He said, now I guess we could say it's something like that, right? What ended up happening was he told us that he was going out to go hunting, and he stopped at the same place all the time, walked the same path to go to where he went and hunted. And as he was walking, he just kept walking and walking and never got back to where he was supposed to be, and just kept walking and was wondering, what the heck is going on. And about the time he was going to give up, he come across on top of this hill, and he looked down and saw his vehicle sitting in the place where he parked it. Somehow he walked straight ahead, but wound up back behind him. And he said that he had missing time when it was all said and done. Pretty interesting stuff, if you ask me. And I think that at some point, things like this does happen. And like you said, Stephen, I think that there's a lot of times where maybe these missing people are stuff like that. I keep saying this, and I've said it for years, but we're slowly put together a book and have been doing it for years and years. But sometimes these kinds of books are hard to put together, but it's almost on that, what you was talking about, the fact that I believe that the past or the future, seeds the past, is seeding the past. These people that come up missing here, Flight 19, just all these different things, end up being somehow put back into the past. And gives why a lot of these older civilizations knew so much about the stars, because you just look at this. What's a pilot have to know? If all of his instruments fail, he has to know how to navigate by landmarks and by the stars. The same thing with a boat captain, right? So he goes missing out of Bermuda Triangle or any of these other places like that. They disappear. Well, they've also are very well, versed with the stars. And so, and in order to try to figure out where they are and what, and how to get back home, they may almost start a cult looking at the stars. So I don't know. It's interesting. Very, very interesting. Maybe. I don't know. He was at Legends and Lore. So if he goes to eat at Legends and Lore, Stephen, it may be the same guy. Maybe. So case number 2 Yep. It's the best. I mean, it's the best way. Know your landmarks, pick out landmarks and know the stars. So case number 2 is the case of the Vanishing Hotel. So this is a modern time slip, and it's characterized by a couple's shared experience and the mysterious disappearance of a physical evidence. So the most frequently cited version of this story centers on an American couple, sometimes named the Hellings or Simpson Parkers, who were driving through rural France in 1979. They were on their way to a motor race. Now, they became lost in a remote area and, seeking shelter for the night, stumbled upon an antiquated, charmingly old fashioned hotel that seemingly belonged to a much earlier era. Now, they decided to stay, noting the strangely cheap price and the unusual odd style decor and the lack of modern amenities. Now, during their overnight stay, the couple reported that all the staff were dressed in outdated uniforms and had a strangely subdued, formal manner to them. Now, the room itself was decorated in a style reminiscent of the Edwardian or Belle Epic period, and the beds were tall and antique. Now, they spent a comfortable night, paid their bill, which was very low, and continued their journey to the next morning. They took several photographs of the hotel's distinctive interior with a Polaroid camera as a souvenir of their odd but pleasant experience. Now, these strange events only become apparent when the couple arrived at their final destination, and upon reviewing the photographs, they discovered the pictures they took of the hotel were missing from the roll, or they had simply failed to develop. Now, they only left blank squares where the hotel should have been. So this kind of raised their suspicion, but, the reality of the place they had just stayed, even the luggage stickers they had received seemed to have vanished or dissolved. So convinced they had experienced something extraordinary, the couple attempted to find the hotel on their return journey, hoping to collect their lost evidence. Now, despite meticulously retracing their route and asking locals, they could not locate the hotel or even the road on which it was situated. There were no local records that matched the description of this building, and no one recalled an establishment fitting the hotel's unusual characteristics in that area. Now, the only tangible evidence they retained was the inexplicable gap in their memory of finding the place and the absence of the photographs, leading to the speculation that they had momentarily occupied a hotel from a bygone decade that existed only as an echo. I've heard that story. Michelle says, I would just want to stay there forever. Yes. Yes. The stairs is the biggest thing I have taught them. Yeah. Or the stars, I mean. Yeah. So Michelle would stay there. I don't know. What if it was like, I watched a movie a long time ago. Now it was kind of a horror movie. It was a really bad, rated B horror movie. But it was almost a time slip thing. Like these guys, I don't even remember the name of it, but they time slipped accidentally into this alternate dimension or something where these terrible beings and stuff lived. But then every so many, I don't remember how long it was, but I guess in the real world, it was quite a few years they can slip back in. I have to try to remember the name of that movie. It was weird, and I watched it. It had to be 20 plus years ago, probably. So it was crazy. So the third case that we're going to talk about is Liverpool Bold Street glitches. So now the alleged time slips on Bold Street in Liverpool, England, represent a reoccurring localized phenomenon, often reported over several decades by multiple unconnected witnesses. Now, this busy street, known for its mix of modern shops and Victorian architecture, has become infamous for its purported temporal anomalies. Now, the accounts generally follow a pattern. An individual is walking down the street in the present day when the surroundings just kind of shift, with the modern streetscape replacing by a scene from the past. Now, it's typically somewhere from the 40s or the 50s. One of the most widely reported incidents involved a former police officer named Frank who was waiting for his wife near a bookshop in the 1990s. Now, he claims that the modern street scene suddenly dissolved and the street was filled with old-fashioned cars and people in clothing from the middle of the 20th century. He was able to look directly through a crowd to see a shop sign that belonged to a business that had been defunct for decades. He experienced a profound physical disorientation before the present day reality snapped back into focus. Left him sitting there shaking. Another account involves a woman who was shopping on Bold Street and walked past a branch of a bank. As she glanced at the building, she claims the modern frontage was momentarily replaced by a much older, darker exterior. Even more strikingly, she reported saw a horse-drawn carriage pass by before the image flickered and was replaced by a stream of modern traffic. Now, these incidents are notable because they are not confined to a single person, but have been recounted by various people who were unaware of the street's peculiar reputation. It's pretty crazy, right? Now, explanations for the Bold Street anomalies often focus on genealogical or infrastructural characteristics. Some theories suggest that the phenomenon could be related to the presence of an old underground railway or the unique convergence of fault lines beneath the city, which might somehow act as a focus for unknown energies or temporal distortions. I was kind of thinking something along that line, something along the line of, ley lines or something, maybe. I don't know. Now, while skeptics point to the power of urban legend or shared delusions, or simply a memory and perception errors, how often do you have just that kind of perception error? I don't think I could ever say that I have ever walked down the road and saw something like that. I don't know. To me, that's just idiotic. The regularity and the similarity of the unconnected accounts have cemented Bold Street's reputation as a genuine, though unexplained, hotspot for time slip activity. We're going to have to go there. Hey, Martin, how you doing? So number 4, the mystery of Sergei is a Ukrainian time traveler. So now this is more akin to time traveling experience than a classical time slip. But it is a compelling modern urban legend due to its photographic evidence and official documentation. Now, the incident allegedly occurred on April 23rd, 2006 in Kiev, Ukraine, when a man in oddly vintage clothes and carrying an old-fashioned camera was found wandering the streets, was appearing very confused and disoriented. When questioned by the police, the man, who identified himself as Sergei, insisted he was born in 1932 and that it was the year 1958. Now, upon searching him, authorities found his Soviet-era documents, which were authentic for the 50s, so showed him at the age of 25. He was taken to a psychiatric clinic for examination by a psychiatrist, Dr. Pavlo. During the interview, which was reportedly recorded, he claimed that he was taking photographs with his fiancée when he saw a strange, large bell-shaped object, which he believed to be a UFO, and he attempted to photograph it. And then he somehow was transported to the year 2006. Now, the most bizarre piece of evidence came from the antique film camera he carried. The police and the photography experts successfully developed the film. They found these images of 1950s Kiev, as well as a picture of him and his fiancée. Crucially, one photograph was one of a UFO-like object he had described. Investigators later tracked down the fiancée, which was now an elderly woman in her 70s, and she confirmed that her fiancé Sergei had vanished mysteriously in 1958. She even produced a photograph allegedly sent to her by him from the future of 2050, showing an older version of him against a futuristic Kiev skyline. Now that's interesting. What's interesting about that is that that would be a lot of the same, though. That would be a time slip, but that would be a time slip where he obviously slipped and never went back. So, what do you think about that, everybody? What do you think about the time slips? Do you think they're real? Do you think they're people's imaginations? I've heard a lot of people. Yeah, I've seen that picture go around a lot, which is kind of neat. Where people, I don't know if everybody sees that, but what about the guy that was supposedly pictured in the 50s or 60s with today's iPhone? I think it's possible. I think that that these things happen. What would be the hardest part is that if something like that was caught, would be to distinguish between, is it a time traveler or is it someone slipping accidentally in time? I think that'd be the hardest part to try to figure out. Only the person that done the slipping would know, I guess, huh? If it was accidental or not. Anybody else want to talk about it for a minute? I find time slips and things like this really fascinating because, yeah, I think you're right, Stephen. I think it could be both, and they are along the same lines. Maybe one is, of course, time travel. If we was able to be able to do it, I think that it's definitely very possible that we probably already do it, but that would be intentional, and then the other would be just natural. And what's funny is that science says that anything that we can conceive, nature can do it without us. So it doesn't even need us to be in the mix to be able to do it. So, like I said, earlier, I think that that's what happens with a lot of these airplanes that go up missing and they've never found anything, ships that go missing and they've never found them. Sometimes ships come back with nobody on board. There was nothing in the logs showing that they had any problems, right? The ship is still perfectly intact. It's some crazy things that happen on this planet, and we're pretty far from figuring them out for sure. But time slips is one of those things that when you really look into it and you really talk about it, it makes you start thinking about stuff like that. Unfortunately, there are those that pass through and unable to come back. Right. Right. That's the thing though, is that, I think that there's times where you can have these time slips because I've listened to other things on time slips, and one of them was a host, and I don't want to say his name, but he has a pretty popular show. And he talked about driving his car, trying to go home, and took a turn, and all of a sudden things completely changed. All the cars on the road turned into like 1950s cars, and everything. And he drove for a little bit, and then it went away, and everything came back to the way it was. And so, he believes that he went into a time slip for sure. Yes, nature will reclaim us all. That's a fact. In one way or another, nature is the ultimate when it comes to that stuff. And deciding our fate in a lot of ways too, I think. What do you think? But very, very interesting subject for sure. I wanted to let everybody also know. See, was it just curious? Did you experience anything like this when you had your Bigfoot encounter while driving? There are some, but small amount of encounters with time slips. Benjamin Beatty says Amelia Earhart may be an example. To my knowledge, they've never found her plane. Time travel is a possibility. And there's another one, right? Flight 19 was one. And the same thing, Amelia Earhart. They've never found her plane. They swear that they're going to find it and that she has to be somewhere here, but they've never found her plane. Same thing with Flight 19, right? Same thing happened. All those men that were flying those planes and very accomplished pilots. Guess what? Never found them. But when I saw Bigfoot, I do not recall it looking any different, but you got to think it was on I-90 up in, Washington. So you're out in the middle of nowhere and there's no cars in sight because it was 11 o'clock at night. Ben could tell you that place becomes a ghost town. I-90, anywhere on I-90. But about 11 o'clock at night, you ain't seeing nobody. Very rare to see cars. And even other trucks. A lot of them are gone by that time. Think the jury is still out. I'm out here breaking generational curse. Well, that's good. That's how we get enlightened. We just got to do that. Yeah, you see these things all the time where they think that they have found her plane, and then they'll start running numbers of parts of the plane that they find, and none of them end up matching. Because I know that they've said it multiple times of where they have. They knew the path of Flight 19 very well. I mean, all the way up to the time that they disappeared. They were talking, on the radios to the base and everything, and they've never found their planes. That was 9 planes. When the spotter plane went up to go find them after they disappeared, the spotter plane and the 9 people in that plane disappeared. And one of the largest manhunts was sent out by the Navy, and they never found even wreckage of a plane. So that was 10 planes in total, just gone, disappeared. And then you have Native Americans that talk about these big thunderbirds come over. And you wonder, would that be an airplane? Because that would be a very loud bird, right? Especially if it's coming over you. So I don't know. It's interesting. It's interesting. I just want to let everybody know that October went through a time portal. It is possible. I really think so. Just like some planes disappear, then run into a mountain or a hill all of a sudden. Right. No, I mean, that's true. I mean, who's to say that sometimes these things that when these planes just disappear and then they'll find them on the side of a mountain that it wasn't that kind of a thing. Cause there was that one guy, I forgot his name, but he had he calls it the electric or fog or green fog or something like that happened to him in Florida. He said he went up as a normal day up in his Cessna. I think he said that it was supposed to be like a 1-hour flight to wherever it was he was going. He went through this fog stuff that he said it was rotating kind of like a vortex. And when he came out the other side, he was already to his destination, and he hadn't been up for, 10, 15 minutes. And he was like, how did I get so far in such a short amount of time? It's supposed to have taken me this much time. And even when he landed, he had more fuel on his plane than what he normally would have to make that same run. So I think there's some pretty crazy things that happens in this world. Be neat if we had more explanations. I think our government does, but they don't want to tell. October 23rd, Jason and I are going to be at the O'Connor Senior Center in Knoxville, Tennessee at 2 p.m. giving a talk. If you're off that Thursday, because it is going to be on a Thursday, come down and talk with us. We're going to be talking about the paranormal and giving a 1-hour lecture. Yep. That's another coincidence. Yeah, it's true. Also on October 25th, we're going to be in downtown Loudon at the Misfits and Mayhem at 2 p.m. So come and join us. We should have most of our books in at that point. I don't think our newest of the new books will be in by that time. Jason says maybe, maybe not. So we'll have at least 2 of the 3 books with us on that day. So definitely come and join us for that. I want to thank everybody for showing up tonight. I'm not Jason, so I don't know where all the music stuff is. I don't think. Maybe I do. Oh man. I'm figuring this out. Hey, get freaky. Thank you, everybody. Like I said, Jason is out tonight, but he will be back with us on Saturday night. So we all, I definitely am looking forward to that. And also, remember Paranormal 411 on YouTube, Paranormal 411 on Facebook. Remember, we're on all major podcast platforms. We have all of our books out. So make sure that and that's scrolling across the bottom there. So all you have to do is go to Amazon and you can buy any of those 3 books, or you go to our website at paranormal411.org. Join us. Like I said, Jason will be here coming up. And I want to thank everybody. Thanks everybody for popping in. Thank you, Jason. Thank you, Stephen. Thank you, Andrea, and all the other people, Michelle, all the other people who were popped on here for a while and hasn't really said too much, baby girl and everybody else. I want to thank everybody. I hope you enjoyed the show. It was fun putting it together. Jason did a really good job at it. And so let's see if I could take us out. Again, we will see you on Saturday. Oh, hey, we will definitely do it. Yeah, we will definitely do it. We would have fun. All right, Jason, go up there and investigate the Civil War hospital. That would be fun. We'd love to do that. Absolutely. Thanks everybody. And, y'all have a good night, and we will see you Saturday.
Have you ever wondered what lurks in the shadows? What secrets the night hides? What strange phenomena might be happening just beyond your perception? Join us as we journey into the world of the paranormal, exploring everything from ghosts and UFOs to cryptids and unexplained occurrences. From haunted houses to all things paranormal, join us in the search for the truth behind the veil. Welcome to Paranormal 411.